What's going on, everyone? So I've had a bunch of requests for Grand Inquisitor lately, and with that, I decided to test a bunch of Grand Inquisitor Yellow, bunch of Grand Inquisitor Blue. After playing with the set 2 cards for a while, we decided to go ahead and showcase some Grand Inquisitor Blue for you all today. So before we get started on the list in Grand Inquisitor, I have a TCG player link in the description down below that if you go ahead and use, it helps me out as well as helps you out. Pick up any of those set 2 cards that you might be interested in now that the set is fully released. Let's talk Grand Inquisitor, and more specifically, Grand Inquisitor Blue. Now, for those of you that were paying attention during spoiler season for set 2, well, basically every card felt like it was good for Grand Inquisitor, or at least that was one of the most common statements that I know myself and a lot of other people were used to. It started becoming this meme on Reddit and in basically any social media space for Star Wars Unlimited. And, well, when the set started to slowly release, I did test some Grand Inquisitor, but I never got to fully test it out until about a week and a half ago, after the entire set was working on Karabast. And of course, I got some games on it then. And Grand Inquisitor Blue is actually a lot better. So for those of you that don't know, Grand Inquisitor has an action to exhaust this leader, deal 2 damage to a friendly unit with 3 or less power, and ready it up. And then he flips for 6 resources as a 3/6, which is atrocious, by the way. Terrible stat line, but he does have an on-attack trigger that you can deal 1 damage to another unit and go ahead and ready that unit up. So you kind of make up for the very low attack power of Great Inquisitor by being able to attack with a secondary unit, which can be a little bit good, but realistically, we're relying mainly on the front side ability. So we're trying to get low power units, maybe with high toughness, maybe with grit or things like that, so we can get in a lot of damage. So we are a very much aggressively slanted deck, and we're going to try to leverage that. So a few things that you might be used to with the previous set, it's set 1. We have things like Death Star Stormtrooper, TIE Fighter, Scout Bike Pursuer, Fifth Brother as some of our early drops, as well as Disabling Fang Fighter. These are all cards that you're used to. Death Star Stormtrooper and TIE Fighter, when you're playing with 1-drops, you really want more 1-drops in the deck, so you can actually take advantage of the fact that they can cost 1 resource. Scout Bike Pursuer actually can be readied with the Grand Inquisitor ability, so he attacks for 3 as a 3/2, which is really solid. Fifth Brother can attack as a 5/1, essentially, if you want to deal 1 damage to an enemy unit or to another one of your units and deal 1 damage to itself after readying with Grand Inquisitor. And then also Disabling Fang Fighter. I decided to play 1 copy main deck. This is something that you might consider playing 3 of in the sideboard, but upgrades are so rampant that even just having 1 of them in the main deck really has been an absolute godsend in certain matchups. So definitely worthwhile, at least in my opinion. There's almost always an upgrade to hit. And then we talk about the new cards. So first off, we have the new kind of units that we're playing, the new grit/value cards with Grand Inquisitor, including Hylobon Enforcer. One of the things with Grand Inquisitor previously, it was kind of awkward to play a deck with Death Star Stormtrooper and TIE Fighter without another 1-drop, because having 6 1-drops is a lot weaker than 9. There's a lot of situations where you only have 1 1-drop, and playing a Death Star Stormtrooper on turn 1 is fine. It's not bad, but playing a Death Star Stormtrooper plus a Hylobon Enforcer and attacking for 3 is absurd. Like, that is crazy, crazy, crazy stuff, right? And then we go further up the curve. We got TIE Silencers, just a nice aggressive space unit. Worship Tree Tender essentially attacks as a 4/2 because you can ready it up. Deathwatch Loyalist, a lot of 3-drops that kind of fit the Great Inquisitor ability. Deathwatch Loyalist gets to ready up and then attack as a 5/1, which is crazy. Punishing One, another space unit that gets to be readied up, which is really, really powerful. Remember, this can stack with its ability as well. So if you have an upgrade on an enemy unit and you defeat that unit, well, guess what? You get to go ahead and ready this Punishing One up again. And then we get to the top end of our curve. We got a couple 4-drops and 5-drops. I want to talk about Sonara Sand and Clan Challengers first. Sonara Sand and Clan Challengers just work really well with Grand Inquisitor's ability. They have 3 power. In Sonara Sand's case, she just becomes a 5/4, which is really nice. And we don't really care too much about the bounty. Usually, it can be a downside in some cases. But because you're readying up immediately, there's a fewer times when her bounty can be claimed, which is kind of nice. And then Clan Challengers, although they don't have base power when you do ready it up, like Sonara Sand with Grit, Clan Challengers just gets to attack for 6. And if they don't deal with it, you could do it again next turn, like attack for 6, ready it up, attack for 6 again. And then as our other 4 and 5 drops, we kind of have a little bit of bounty package. So I'll talk about these 4 cards together: Guild Target, Rich Reward, Jango Fett, and Chrysanthemum. So Chrysanthemum can come down if you've played one of these bounties, it's readied, and then you get to attack ready to begin with Grand Inquisitor, which is kind of nice. And then Jango Fett, well, he comes down, and if you put like a rich reward or a guild target on something, you get to ready up Jango Fett and attack as a 6-powered overwhelming unit. And you get to draw a card, most likely, because almost nothing can survive at that point. And as long as you're hitting like a 3-resource play or a 2-resource play, Jango Fett usually will live, which is pretty crazy. So Jango Fett works really well with all these bounties. And as I mentioned, these bounties are just really, really nice. Not only for the bounty package that we have, but also in an aggressively slanted deck. Guild Target can kind of act as just a little bit of extra damage to opponent's base, and Rich War can essentially pump our units to crazy amounts. And I haven't talked about our base yet, but we are running Security Complex, and the main reason for that is, one, we're an aggressive deck, and so we want to be keeping our units alive, and the extra HP loss is not extremely relevant. But also, and more importantly, putting like a shield token on something with Overwhelm, putting a bounty on something, killing that unit, hitting their base, and claiming a bounty could be an extremely powerful swing. And so that's something that we have to pay attention to. Then to wrap up our overall deck, we got 2 copies of Covert Strength and 3 copies of Desperate Attack. This is essentially like our version of Surprise Strike. It gives us some extra early plays to make, or cheap plays to make, so that we can actually take advantage of all the cards that we have in our hand. And Covert Strength oftentimes comes from the resource pile, but also we could do something like, okay, I'm gonna ready up, I don't know, a punishing one, and then I'm gonna Covert Strength it so it heals up and gets an experience token, which can be extremely relevant if your opponent's going to trade with something. So that's super important as well. And I did mention this, but punishing one also works really well with the bounty, so we could do some pretty crazy stuff here. Overall, goal of the deck, get in early damage, and then have cheap stuff to actually be able to leverage the fact that we have a lot of cards in our hand. That's why we're running so many, cheap plays like Rich Reward, Guild Target, Covert Strength, and Desperate Attack, so we can get in damage and then finish out the game. So let's see how this plays out and run some games. All right, and our first matchup is against a Boba Red, and this is actually a great hand. We have the Death Star Stormtrooper plus TIE Fighter start, which I like. We get to go ahead and resource, probably Covert Strength, and possibly this Jango Fett, because Desperate Attack could get in some damage, or we could just resource both of these and rely on our units, which is probably a safer play to make if we kind of low roll and maybe draw something that doesn't really work well with what we got. I will say, Tarkin Town is our worst enemy, so that is something we have to pay attention to. And I really would like to ready up this Death Watch Loyalist, so that's something that I have to pay attention to as well. Like, are we going to ready up the Death Watch Loyalist and this specific turn, or like, are we not going to because we want to avoid them kind of just Tarkin Towning it and then moving on with their life? I will start off the Death Star Stormtrooper because they could have something like Cartel Spacer, and if they are going to try to trade with my units or get some value units done, then that will be really bad for our deck. But if they play like a Greedo and just simply trade, that's not nearly as bad. So we'll see what they got. Okay, they played a Mercenary Gunship, which is actually pretty nice for us because TIE Fighter actually just trades with Mercenary Gunship if they do decide to go ahead and kill the TIE Fighter. Fallen Lightsaber looking decent. I do like this card a lot. Putting it on any unit basically is extremely valuable. Here, though, I think I just get rid of... I can either get rid of the Jango Fett or the Hylobon Enforcer. And honestly, in this spot, because we have no bounty cards, I actually want to get rid of the Jango Fett. And the reason being is this turn, I can potentially go Death Watch Loyalist, ready it, attack, and with everything, right? And then I can go the following turn, Fallen Lightsaber plus Hylobon Enforcer, ready the Hylobon Enforcer, and get in for some even more damage. So really, really quite powerful turns I have set forward for me. So I'm pretty excited about that. They have Daring Raid. So they're going to Daring Raid my my TIE Fighter. Seems reasonable to me. And here, if they decide to, you know what, we're going to just pass or play a unit and pass or whatever they want to do, I am totally just not going to damage the Death Watch Loyalist, because what we can always do is attack next turn with Death Watch Loyalist. And then go ahead and... Oh, why could I play this? I don't know. But we're going to claim initiative. I just attack next turn and then ready it next turn. Like, there's no real reason to go ahead and, rush this damage out. Here, Sonara Sand, probably looking like the weakest because I want to make multiple plays this turn. Remember, we do have that Covert Strength, which could be pretty useful here. And we are quite ahead on, I would say, damage potential for this game. Let's see here. We go ahead and play a Death Watch Loyal or attack with the Death Star Stormtrooper. Let's see what they've got. We're going to attack with Death Watch Loyalist following that. We could also just Hylobon Enforcer ready it, potentially. A lot of options here. TIE Advanced. Well, apparently they didn't realize that their units are not Imperial units, so that is slightly unfortunate. Let's go ahead and just put a Fallen Lightsaber on the Death Star Stormtrooper. And now if they decide to pass, then we're just going to get a little bit of value going with attacking the Hylobon Enforcer, which is going to be quite nice. We can also attack with Death Stars or the Death Watch Loyalist, but I think it's more useful to get in some damage with the Hylobon Enforcer because we want to actually keep the Death Watch Loyalist around here. Okay, we picked up a Sonara Sand, which actually does look pretty nice here. Nice way to kind of ready up and get some value going. Let's go ahead and attack with the Hylobon Enforcer. And no good to me dead. They are going to deploy their Boba Fett this turn, so they can potentially... Wow, they have a lot of value with double no good to be dead here. Let's go ahead and ready up this Sonara Sand. And here, if they attack, that's 6. I think it's worthwhile. We're going to put a shield token on something. But double no good to be dead is pretty good. These things don't ready next turn. Hidden for 7. And then we put a shield token on Sonara Sand. And then what they could do is like deal 3 damage to Sonara Sand and then attack Sonara Sand with Boba Fett. But that ends up just killing Boba Fett. And then we have Hylobon Enforcer here, which is safe. Even if they kill it and deal 5 damage to my base, that's only, 23 damage. So we are still safe, should be safe at least to do exactly that. I don't really see what combination of cards that they could potentially have here. Let's go shield token on Sonara Sand. And now they'll have to Tarkin Town it plus attack with Boba. And then they're going to have like a waylay here or like a triple no good to me dead to kill the Hylobon Enforcer as well. Oh, they attack base? Do they have like a triple dark raid or something? I don't know. They didn't remove any of my units, so yeah, you can Tarkin Town my Hylobon Enforcer, but Sonara Sand is readied up next turn, and that's gonna be, a kill. Surprised they didn't go with the Tarkin Town and then kill Sonara Sand. I guess they were trying to see if they could draw something, but boom, look at that. That was pretty straightforward, I would say. We did not actually invest much playtime. Tarkin Town was a pretty tricky thing to play around. I will say we could have gotten a lot more damage if that wasn't the case. And TIE Advanced, I mean, this TIE Advanced looks terrible in their deck. I'm not sure. They didn't play any Imperial units, and they didn't showcase any Imperial units besides other TIE Advanced, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, on to game number 2. All right, and here we find ourselves against a Thrawn Blue, and I am not going to mulligan this. Again, we have double 1-drop, which looks great here. Into a 3-drop. I probably resource, my guess is Silencer and Chrysanthemum. If they have a turn 1 play, it'll probably be like an Inferno 4. So I'm not super excited about playing like a Silencer into that. Dr. Evazan. All right, that's a little bit of a surprising play, I'll be honest. A little bit of a surprising one. Let's go Death Star Stormtrooper plus TIE Fighter, and then we get to pass. And then here we have Fifth Brother and Scout Bike Pursuer. Probably resource again the Silencer. Here they're going to kill my Death Star Stormtrooper. Sure, we're going to attack for 2 just so they can't exhaust any units here. Ooh, Ma Clunky. Okay. That's a very strong play from them. Very, very strong play from them. Let's go ahead and ready up the Scout Bike Pursuer. Let's go ahead and attack, and then let's go ahead and put a shield token on the Scout Bike Pursuer here. Okay, we've drawn Punishing One and Fifth Brother. I like Punishing One here. I'm actually going to resource the Fifth Brother. Or I should say we drew Death Star Stormtrooper and Punishing One. We could have a turn here where we like play Punishing One, play an upgrade on Dr. Evazan, kill their Dr. Evazan, and get some value going there. This is already a pretty tough matchup, I'd say, and they have a very nice start. Spark of Rebellion here. Okay, they're playing a 4-costed Spark of Rebellion. Interesting. Let's just go ahead and, well, they can't actually get any value going with their exhausting. Let's go ahead and play a Death Star Stormtrooper. And let's just play a guild target on this guy. And let's pass. Sonara Sand and Punishing One, both pretty good draws. I'm surprised they went with the Spark of Rebellion there. It seems like a pretty crazy play to make, if I'm being honest. I don't know what they have in hand, of course. See what they've got. Ooh, Ma Clunky. Very devastating. They've done that twice now. Very good hand from our opponent. Gets rid of our bounty. Goes ahead and gets to replay the Dr. Evazan for approximately the like 50 billionth time. Let's go ahead and ready Sonara Santa, just attack for 5 and then pass. Desperate Attack and Disabling Fang Fighter. Both could be potentially interesting. I think in this spot I'm actually going to resource the Desperate Attack because we are going to be able to flip the Grand Inquisitor this turn. And then we could potentially ready the Disabling Fang Fighter with the Grand Inquisitor. I think we just get in for 3 damage here. See what they do. Okay, so they don't kill Thrawn, or they don't hit the Death Star Stormtrooper with the shield. So that's kind of interesting here. Okay, they're gonna trade. Interesting. Let's go ahead and deploy the Great Inquisitor. He's got to have a 6-cost unit here. Doesn't have it. Get in for 3. Get in for another 3. And look at that. I mean, we are getting in some damage for sure. Let's see what they've got. Can they attack and exhaust my Disabling Fang Fighter? They can. Let's get down a Scout Bike Pursuer here. And then we could Fallen Lightsaber the Scout Bike Pursuer. We're very close to finishing out the game, but it's not quite there. The double Ma Clunky is extremely relevant. Ooh, and they have a Vigilance here. All right, now I am a little bit worried about the game for sure. Let's go ahead and put a Fallen Lightsaber on our Scout Bike Pursuer. Let's pass. And we drew a couple of good ones here. At least units that we can actually deal some work. They have Power of the Dark Side. All right, you got me. Let's go ahead and put a Silencer down. Let's go ahead and put a Fifth Brother down. Claim Initiative. Covert Strength. I'll put that in the resource pile here because we can always, get it out of the resource pile. So it doesn't hurt to actually have an additional resource in this spot. Here, though, we get to immediately attack with Fifth Brother. They passed a bunch of times, which seems a little bit strange to me. I feel like they could have just hit my Fifth Brother with Thrawn. Super Laser Blast. Okay, let's go ahead and get down to Django. Let's go ahead and deal 2 damage to Django. Let's go ahead and put a Covert Strength on this guy. And let's attack for 4 and then pass. And now, I mean, we have lethal on board, even though they Super Laser Blast. They got nothing, in terms of, like, units to trade. And then we have 2 units here. One of them being lethal. I mean, that's pretty good. Like, this turn. One of them being lethal this turn. Ooh, okay. Let's go TIE Fighter. And Scout Bike Pursuer might be able to get there. Scout Bike Pursuer. So now, yes, they could exhaust it in response after I ready it, but then I just claim initiative and they are dead. So we'll ready up the Scout Bike Pursuer. They're going to exhaust my Scout Bike Pursuer, but it doesn't matter. We claim initiative and, well, we win. So very close game, but we ended up getting there with the Grand Inquisitor. Boom. That's that. Pretty sweet one. And our opponent had a really solid hand. Dr. Evazan's really good against us, especially when you can reset the shield token and not have any real downside. And that's exactly what they did, right? Twice. Right? The Spark Rebellion was whatever. Fellow Dragon, like Vigilance, these are all standard stuff. It's the Dr. Evazan plus double Moklunki that actually stalled us an incredible amount of time. But because we were able to ready and get in some damage before our opponent could actually deal with threats, we actually ended up getting there. I mean, they had a great hand. Dr. Evazan plus double Moklunki and a Vigilance here is pretty crazy. Let's go on to game 3. All right, and we find ourselves against a very aggressive deck in double red Kylo. This is a pretty bad hand. We're looking for a much cheaper, much easier to play hand. And, well, Scout Bike Pursuer on turn 1 could potentially be good. We go ahead and get rid of the Chrysanthemum and probably the guild target. We don't want too many bounties here at the beginning of the game. Let's go ahead and go Scout Bike Pursuer. And then we just go ahead and ready this guy. Actually, no, we're going to claim initiative here. And we're just going to kill the Death Star Stormtrooper to start us out, which looks pretty nice here. Don't need double rich reward in this spot by any means. Let's just go ahead and go kill your Scout Bike Pursuer. And that's a really nice little trade there. They can Tarkin Town it for sure if they would like. Of course, we are incentivized to put a shield token on it. Wow, they ended up just trading. It's kind of crazy, to be honest. Kylo Ren really doesn't want to be doing that. I think they probably should have Tarkin Towned it if that was the plan. I think they definitely should have considered that, but that's okay. They play a TIE Fighter. We're going to claim initiative here. No reason, again, to ready up the Death Watch Loyalist and then have them Tarkin Town it. They're going to discard a card so that they have less cards in hand when they go for the Kylo flip. Okay, they have... that was really strange, actually. I'm not exactly sure what they decided to do there. Okay, let's just go ahead and resource this Sonara Sand. We don't want to be under pressure in a situation where they, like, go ahead and actually kill the Sonara Sand and deal 5 to our base. That is obnoxious, I'll say that much. Let's go ahead and play out a Death Star Stormtrooper. They're going to hit us for a decent chunk of damage here. Let's ready up the 5th brother. Wait, that's not what I meant to do. That's not what I meant to do. Oh, whatever. It is what it is. I didn't mean to actually use my action on this guy, but I guess it happens, and that's life sometimes. It just ruins... man, I meant to go hit undo, but sometimes that happens. Let's go ahead and resource probably the... do we have anything in our resource pile? Probably the rich reward at this point. We go ahead and kill the Kylo Ren. They're going to attack for 5 here. Oh, they're going to trade. That seems very odd. 5th brother, huh? Let's go ahead and attack for 3. Ooh, they claimed initiative. All right, well, that gives us some options. We get to go ahead and ready up this guy. Desperate attack him into the base. Put a shield token on him and then pass. And then now we get to just, I assume, attack 5. Not quite. We're not going to quite get there. They're trading? Very strange. They can't be trading like this. Man, if we hadn't passed, like I didn't intend to pass. I meant to hit something else, and I guess our opponent just attacked immediately, and we couldn't actually get our value going. But that's really unfortunate because we would have been super far ahead at this point in the game. Let's go punishing one here. We get to ready up a Deathwatch Loyalist or punishing one and then ready up Grand Inquisitor. I don't know why they're trading. That was very strange. I mean, the game is over here. We get to ready up the Deathwatch Loyalist. They all Tarkin town it. We'll ready up Grand Inquisitor and they're dead. So they definitely did some trades here, which was a little bit strange for sure. Like, there was two things. Them trading their TIE fighter with my TIE fighter is exactly what I wanted to do. So if your opponent wants to do it, then you're definitely in a spot where, you know, that's probably not something that's good for you, or one of us is wrong. And then trading the fifth brother for my 5-1, I guess they maybe had no choice at that point, but I mean, maybe the game was over. You really just want to be getting in as much damage as you possibly can, because what they could have done is like discarded a card to the fifth brother and then trying to get in some extra damage, but they didn't actually do that. So anyways, close game. We ended up getting there, even with that little mistake that I made. Let's go on to the next one. And our next game is against Jabba Yellow. Once again, a pretty mediocre starting hand. Oh, double Death Star Stormtrooper. I like this one. We even have a 3-drop, and we probably resource, I think we just, take care of our curve. We resource the Clan Challenger, and we have a 1, 2, 3, or 1, 1, 2, 3, which looks pretty good. And they go Cartel Spacer, which is kind of perfect for us. To be honest, we're just going to go ahead and get double Death Star Stormtroopers out, and well, in this next spot, we can go Warshare Tree Tender or TIE Fighter plus Scout Bike Pursuer. Although the double play is appealing, we have to remember that TIE Fighter can just get killed by Cartel Spacer. And also, we kind of want to keep an additional card in our hand for resourcing up to, Grand Inquisitor, which is going to be pretty, at least relatively important. Let's just go ahead and attack for 3 here. Then we attack for another 3. Then we go ahead and Warshare Tree Tender, ready the Tree Tender, attack for 4, and then we go ahead and pass. Clan Challengers looking pretty decent. Fallen Lightsaber also looking pretty decent. This turn we can go Sonara Sand. Next turn we can go Clan Challengers. I imagine they're going to go ahead and attack my Warshare Tree Tender with the Boba Fett, which means that we could probably ready up the Sonara Sand and attack for 5 here. So that looks pretty amazing. We've gotten in a ton of damage here already. I mean, on turn 2, we're getting in 10 damage, which is pretty nuts. Let's go ahead and resource this Scout Bike Pursuer. And let's see what Jabba has for us. This is turn 3. They have 4 resources. They could have some, interesting stuff going on. They're going to do Shield Token and Capture Something. Ooh, very good. That is extremely good from our opponent, I will say. But fortunately for us, we are going to be able to go ahead and ready up the Sonara Sand and then hit the Boba Fett, which is then going to get additional grit on the Sonara Sand. And then we can put a shield token on the Sonara Sand. So that looks really, really nice for us, actually. They're going to hit the Death Star Stormtrooper almost assuredly. I'd be very surprised if they did not. Sure. Yep, let's go with Sonara Sand. They're going to attack for 2. We're going to ready up the Sonara Sand, hit their Boba. We're going to get our Tree Tender back. Huh, that's strange. They probably should not have taken initiative, is my suggestion. Let's go ahead and get rid of probably the guild target. It's actually looking pretty bad. I think I'd rather have the double Fallen Lightsaber for our Grand Inquisitor flip turn, make him into a 9/12, which could be pretty interesting. We can also just go, we're going to want to go Clan Challengers. We could resource one of the Fallen Lightsabers, but knowing that we have Grand Inquisitor flip next turn and that we are massively ahead on board right now, I'm pretty okay with this, especially since we can go attack with Death Star Stormtrooper, attack with Tree Tender, play Clan Challengers, attack for 6, or even if they don't kill, or if they kill the Clan Challengers, we can go ahead and attack for an additional amount. And I mean, look at that. That was crazy. We're going to hit for 8. That was going to be a turn 4 kill. That was absolutely crazy. So GG to our opponent. That was a really strong showing, even though they had the Relentless Pursuit, which looks pretty good in that spot, right? They captured something, got the Boba. Sonara Sand was a perfect answer to that, because not only did we get to kill their unit, but we didn't actually lose any damage. And what I mean by that is, yeah, we didn't hit them for 5, but we kind of got most of that damage back with killing their unit, because it's grit, and we got our unit back. So we didn't hit them for 5, but we essentially got 5 power back by getting that Tree Tender back. One of the reasons why I don't like capture cards, by the way. One of the reasons I do not like capture cards. Anyways, on to the next game. All right, and another match against Kylo, and once again, another really terrible opening hand. into, well, not a terrible opening hand. It's okay. At least we have double turn one play with the high low bond enforcer, but I'm not excited about going like high low bond enforcer plus rich reward here. Though we probably resource, I mean, Django Fett could potentially be good in this spot. I'm tempted to go ahead and resource one of these 3 drops, and I think in this spot Deathwatch Loyalist looks less exciting, and I think honestly I want to get rid of Fifth Brother because they could have a lot of space units, and punishing one could be critical to helping with dealing with all those. So let's go Hilo Bond Enforcer. Let's go Rich Reward on the TIE Fighter. And then let's go ahead and what do I want to do here? Deal 2 to the Hilo Bond Enforcer. Give it a shield. I think I want to give this a shield and then attack their base for 3. Looks a little bit strange. Like, but don't you want to actually go ahead and prevent them from getting in a ton of damage? To some degree, yes. But actually, I think we're winning this because what we're going to be able to do is play Punishing One, ready at Punishing One, kill their TIE Fighter, get an experience token on both of them, and then be able to go ahead and attack with the Punishing One again. So we're actually going to be able to get 8 damage in into their base this turn, which is going to be pretty crazy. They're going to discard a card. Sure, let's go ahead and ready up the Punishing One here. That was really weird. Why are you trading like that? I suppose that just felt really weird to me. Our opponent decided to trade their TIE Fighter. They're going to play TIE Phantom. Okay. That was very weird to me. I felt like they should have attacked immediately, but, you know, it happens, I suppose. Let's go ahead and resource probably the Django Fett at this point. We're going to go ahead and play a Fifth Brother. Hilo Bond Enforcer can just straight up kill Kylo Ren at this point, so that's pretty nice. Going to put Rich Reward on Greedo here. They're going to attack. Sure thing. Let's go ahead and ready up the Fifth Brother here. We can deal 1 damage to Greedo and attack their base. Let's go ahead and attack their base and hit the Greedo. And then we're going to put an experience token on both of these units. And now we just attack their base for 5, or what do we do here? So we attack their base for 5, they get in for 5. We're at 16, they're at 19. And then they attack for 7, which is 23. And then we have to kill 19. Let's see, we have to hit. Yeah, we should actually have enough because they're going to be at 19. Let's think about this. Well, no, they can discard. No, they can't discard a card to Kylo Ren because they're going to be exhausted. So we hit their base. They're at 19. We're at 19. Sorry, our opponent was saying question mark. They're at 19. So we hit them at 24, and then we can ready up a clan challengers and finish them off. So I think the proper play is just to hit their base. And then they're going to flip Kylo, hit in for 5, right? So they're going to be at 16. So they hit us for 7 here. So that's 23. We're going to be able to go ahead and claim initiative here. When we go ahead and start our next turn, we get to attack Kylo Ren with Fifth Brother, dealing 1 damage to Fifth Brother, killing their Reckless Gunslinger. And then again, we get to ready the clan challengers and win the game that way. So they should be able to kill us here. I suppose if they have a way to kill the Hilo Bond Enforcer, then they got us. But, or if they have like, I don't even know what they could have. Clan challengers should finish off the game here. Clan Challengers should finish off the game here. That was really close. No, 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 no. You can't be undoing that action. I'm trying to play my Clan Challengers. They know that the game is over. Let's see. And we attack for 6. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. We actually ended up racing the Kylo Ren. That was a really close one. I could have ended up killing their Greedo in the earlier stages of the game, but I felt like going in for damage just because I felt like we were going to get in more damage. I think the critical part of the game was them actually using their TIE fighter to trade. If they hadn't done that, then I don't think we could have gone with the same plan. Because readying up the punishing one actually wouldn't have been able to get us initial damage because it would have just traded with the TIE fighter. We would have just been able to attack with the Hylobot Enforcer, so I think they should have attacked our base. I was thinking that we could have gotten this insane play, but that wasn't actually necessarily the case. So I think they should have just hit our base, and that's kind of the lesson for Kylo Ren always, is just hit the base. Just hit the base, ignore trades, ignore everything else for the most part. There are exceptions, but there are very few exceptions, and that was not one of them. So pretty nice. I mean, we barely got there, and we got exactsies on them. Pretty close. Next game. On to our next game, and we got ourselves a game against Moff Gideon Green. And this one's an okay hand, although I think we could do better. I'm tempted to mulligan this, but since they are playing Moff Gideon, I'm not going to, because I think that Rich Reward will actually have a decent amount of value in this spot, simply because they are going to be playing units. Here, though, I think I resource probably the Scout Bike Pursuer and probably the Clan Challengers because I want to have a nice 1, 2, 3 once again. I think that having a good curve here is going to be pretty important. Let's go Death Star Stormtrooper. They play Price on Your Head. That's kind of crazy, actually. Let's just go Security Complex and shield it. And then let's pass. I'm a little bit disappointed that that's what they decided to go for. We drew Fifth Brother and Death Watch Loyalist, which both are better than the Warshare Tree Tender, so we're just going to go and resource that. Let's go to put a Shield Tugger, Death Star Stormtrooper, just because I don't want to be in necessarily a spot in that we are going to kind of get wrecked by, let's say, some sort of damage-based, ambush thing. I'm not even sure what they could have potentially had there. In double green, it's pretty rare, but let's go ahead and just play out Death Watch Loyalist, since it will go ahead and get bigger. We don't need to ready it because they're probably going to attack it with super laser tech. At least I wouldn't be too surprised if they do so. Here we get to go ahead and resource probably the Warshare Tree Tender, because I'd rather have the Fifth Brother once again, and the Disabling Fang Fighter has more niche case scenarios where it's better. Maybe they play Darksaber in this list and they're planning on flipping, Moff Gideon this turn. Here, they probably just attack the Death Star Stormtrooper, though, just to get rid of the shield. I mean, I could see attacking the Death Watch Loyalist, but they could also just trade with it, I guess, with the attack here. So that's decent for them. Let's go ahead and attack for 3 here with the Stormtrooper. I actually forgot about Moff Gideon's ability. Look at that. Getting some value with the super laser tech. Maybe worth it to have attacked with the super laser tech. But then, I don't know. I'm not sure, actually. Interesting kind of options I had there. Let's go Fifth Brother here. I'm going to go Fifth Brother because I think they're going to deploy Moff Gideon. And then what I can do is attack their base, kill their super laser tech, and get some rich rewards going. Let's go ahead and deal some damage to Fifth Brother. They're probably actually just going to kill it here. And if they do, then they didn't have anything to play afterwards, which is fine as well. Kind of a very ramp-heavy hand for this one, right? This is one thing that I was a little bit surprised. I was kind of surprised to see Price on Your Head in the Moff Gideon kind of deck. Oh my gosh. What is going on here? Let's go ahead and attack here, and I will deal 1 damage to Fifth Brother and deal 1 damage to, I suppose, super laser tech. I mean, they're playing double green, and yes, They're playing Moff Gideon. I just didn't expect Moff Gideon to, or the Moff Gideon deck to play all these ramp cards. Like they have played 4 ramp cards, and that is essentially it so far in the game. Let's go ahead and claim initiative, not use rich reward. I'd rather be able to go ahead and get the attack in this upcoming turn. And ooh, Jango Fett was actually a very interesting draw here. Let's go ahead and resource the Sabling Fang Fighter. Just go ahead and attack their base for 3. But now we can go, let's say, guild target plus rich reward on the Moff Gideon and Jango Fett and ready that up. So that might be a little bit more interesting. Let's go Jango Fett here. See what they end up doing. They can't go like command escort skiff, huh? Okay. That's pretty bad for us, huh? Let's just go ahead and claim initiative. Escort skiff. Wow, what a nasty set of cards our opponent had, huh? Let's just go ahead and start us off with hitting their phase 3 Dark Trooper with a Death Star Stormtrooper just to see what they end up doing. They're playing double green, so they could have like Reinforcement Walker. They could have, I suppose, the double green cards like Endless Legion coming out. But I'm just surprised at what I'm seeing here across the board, really, from our opponent. I would not have expected to have seen all these different cards that they ended up playing here. Let's see, what do they do? Oh, they kill Jango. That's fine. Let's go ahead and flip Grand Inquisitor here. Okay, let's go ahead and give him a Fallen Lightsaber. Relentless, huh? All right, well, we have no events. So let's go ahead and put upgrade. Let's go ahead and put another upgrade. Let's attack their base, kill. Let's get an experience token over here. And now, I mean, this is pretty bad for our opponent, I will say. Here, I probably resource the Sinara Sand because I'm going to be able to play guild target plus potentially ready up a Chrysanthemum because of it. And they say GG. We ended up getting there. The deck was not at all what I had expected to fight against. When you see Moff Gideon, I mean, the only thing Moff Gideon does is give your units the potential to trade. And actually, even in the beginning of the game, I kind of forgot about that with the super laser attack, but it only works with units that cost 3 or less. So when you're playing all these like ramp, like Price on your head, super laser attacks, like super laser attack is good in the deck, I think, just because, it gets you some earlier Moff Gideon flips and it's also a 3-cost unit. But like Price on your head is kind of unexpected. Escort Skiff was a little bit unexpected. And then Relentless, obviously, very unexpected. I suppose they're playing more of a ramp heavy version, like a mid-range version. So definitely a little bit different, but they ended up getting there. So pretty nice. On to the next one. And our next matchup is against Boba Green. No ACL, though, which is huge for us. This is a pretty mediocre hand, just a high-low bond enforcer on turn 1. This is a much better hand, probably the dream hand. We get to go to resource Covert Strength and Fifth Brother. Why do I say dream hand? We have double 1-drop, which is already very good. But then we also are going to be able to attack with high-low bond enforcer and then follow up with a 3-drop and then a 4-drop. And we were able to resource the Covert Strength here, which is really, really nice. So absolutely love this. Love what's going on. They played a Lady Proxima. So, I mean, sure, not very scary, to be honest. We can kind of ignore her. This is just 1 damage to a base every single turn, essentially, because they're going to play an Underworld card. But them, kind of playing a 0-4 on turn 1 is pretty bad for them in this matchup, I would say. We do have to be aware of things like Forlom could come down. Like that could be a scary option for our opponent that they could have. 7th Fleet Defender is not scary at all, though. And here we just attack their base for 3, attack their base for another 3. And then we just go ahead and play a 5th Brother, ready it up, and I'll deal 1 damage to 5th Brother, deal 1 damage to Lady Proxima, and then I will pass the turn. And here we could probably resource this Covert Strength, part 2. Let's see what they've got. We've already attacked for a lot of damage here, which is really nice. Remember, this is like very early on in the game. Okay, they're gonna chain code collector essentially for free. Not for free. Because they're gonna hit my what's it called? My Hylobon Enforcer. Makes somewhat sense here. They have one resource. All right, I think I'm interested in just going Fallen Lightsaber on the fifth brother and getting in for approximately 1,000,000 damage. And then we'll probably just go ahead and put a shield token on fifth brother. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and put a shield token. Or do I want to put a shield token here? They could have 2 resources, so they could bounce and Maklunki again. Huh. Huh. I think I desperate attack here. And that allows me to get in for approximately 1,000,000 damage. And then if they have a Maklunki, they have to bounce the 7th Fleet Defender, which puts them in a pretty bad spot regardless. I could have attacked with the Wanted before playing the Fallen Lightsaber. Okay, now if they have a Maklunki, it could be kind of whatever for me. Because they kill the fifth brother, but then we play a Sonara Sand, they kind of have to deal with that. And if they have nothing, like they do here, then we just kill them. Boom. GG. So that was pretty interesting. Our opponent was leveraging, of course, all the resources that they had. Chain Collector actually works really well against our deck, with the Hylobon Enforcer having a bounty. Maklunki ends up bouncing something, killing something. Pretty nice situation for them. But as I said, we kind of had the dream curve, and then Desperate Attack is really nice there. Ended up getting in, a ton of additional damage. Alongside, the fifth brother, massive, damage to him. Fallen Lightsaber coming in clutch there. I probably should have attacked with a Stormtrooper. We could have gotten potentially additional 3 damage into their base. And then what I could have done is hit them with the fifth brother, put a shield token, ready it up with the Grand Inquisitor, and then attacked, and then readied up with the Grand Inquisitor, and then put the Fallen Lightsaber on him, and then desperate attacked. That could have been an option, but I wanted to just get in the damage. There are different ways that I could have played it, but our opponent had so many resources flying around, I was a little bit nervous to kind of go with the maximum value play. But I suppose they didn't really have anything after the Chain Code Collector plus Maklunki, so that's going to be that. On to the next one. All right, I think this is going to be the last one of today. I could sit here and play this deck all day. I'm having so much fun, but this is a pretty mediocre hand. This one's a lot better. We have the double 1-drop, as I am so fond of, plus a 3-drop, plus a 4-drop. Probably going to resource the Rich Reward and Django, a little bounty package, and just keep with our really kind of solid plays to start us off. So, Hylobon Enforcer. Wouldn't be surprised if our opponent goes TIE Fighter, but they didn't. We're going to go ahead and ready up the Hylobon Enforcer, put a shield token on the Hylobon Enforcer. I'm actually going to go ahead and kill the Incinerator Trooper. This might seem a little bit, counterintuitive, again, because we are trying to hit their base most frequently. But in this spot, we don't want Incinerator Trooper getting them a ton of value. And they're going to go with the Power of the Dark Side, which is a really, really good sign for us. I think Power of the Dark Side is a little bit overrated, especially in situations like this, because you kind of just want a unit. You really, in this spot, really just wanted a unit. Power of the Dark Side doesn't really do a whole lot for you. Phase 3 Dark Trooper coming in. Okay. Let's go Guild Target here on this guy, just to get in some extra damage. And then we're going to go ahead and pump it up. Or they're going to pump it up, and then we're going to go ahead and attack. Did we actually get in that damage? I thought we were going to do a little bit more, but I suppose not. Let's go Sonara Sand, ready up the Sonara Sand, attack for 5. And I mean, we are off to the races here, guys. We are doing some massive damage. Let's keep the Desperate Attack here. They're going to Power the Dark Side. We're going to go ahead and attack for 5. And then we're going to play a Clan Challengers and attack for 6. Let's go ahead and deal damage to the Clan Challengers. Pretty nice, guys. Pretty nice. Let's see what they decide to hit here. All right, they're going to hit my clan challengers. Interesting. Let's go ahead and just smack their base for approximately 1,000,000. And now we have the Desperate Attack plus Rich Reward. I might have wanted to keep the Kylo Silencer over this Desperate Attack. I thought that we were going to be able to get in some additional damage, but that was a complete kind of mistake just because we had the Clan Challengers, and that's exactly what we were going to play that turn. So I think I should have kept the Silencer, the Silencer in hand here. Ooh, they're going to go Clan Challenge, or they're going to go Overwhelming Barrage here, which looks pretty amazing for them, for sure. Let's go Death Star Stormtrooper. They hit the base. That was a mistake. I thought they were going to keep their Seasoned Shore Trooper back because they knew that I have a Grand Inquisitor flip, but they didn't. And then we just won. Overwhelming Barrage is great for sure. And against that spot, it is very good. But they made a big mistake. They should have killed the Stormtrooper with Tarkin. At least that's what I would have done. And that would have been we would have been in a spot where if we had readied up Grand Inquisitor, it just immediately dies to the Shore Trooper, which is in a really bad spot for us. So then we end up just claiming initiative, and then they get a free attack into our base, and then maybe play a 1-drop, and then we just have to rely on kind of whatever we draw off the top. But I mean, guys, that's 8 games and 8 pretty quick wins. The only game that was really, really close, I would say, was the Kylo game. I suppose the Thrawn game, where we just kind of squeaked in the win in terms of dealing exactly enough damage or enough damage to win, as the control game could have closed it out. But let's talk about the deck here to wrap up. So what do we learn about Grand Inquisitor Blue? Well, the first thing is, how does it compare against Grand Inquisitor Yellow? Because I've seen a lot of people talk about Grand Inquisitor Yellow, and that's kind of the initial thing that people look for. And the main reason a lot of people try it is sneak attack. I've seen a lot of people try, like, oh, you could sneak attack in like Clan Challengers or something and then ready it a bunch of times, or like sneak attack Clan Challengers, attack for 6, ready it again, attack for another 6, which is, obviously a strong combination, and you can absolutely do that on like turn 3. But I would say that that's more of like a best case scenario, and something that can work in some games, and even sneak attacking like a 5th brother in can do some decent work, no doubt about it. But it's a little bit more all in, and with what you get with Blue, it makes the deck a lot more consistent because you don't get as many great on the curve units as Blue does, although you do get some good tricks. So the trade-off is, with Yellow, you got more explosiveness and more tricks to get in a bunch of damage, like Surprise Strike and Hot Shot Blaster. With Blue, you get a ton of really just great curve units for Grand Inquisitor specifically, and a little bit more synergy there. Out of the games that we played on camera, we lost 0 today. 2 of them were exceptionally close. Outside of that, I would say most of them are pretty slam dunky. And then outside of the recorded videos, I played like another 8 or 9 games, and if I remember correctly, I've lost 2. So total, I went 14-2 or 15-2. I can't remember exactly on the day. And I've tested for this for a few days. That's partially because a lot of people are testing out their decks as well, but this is very, very good. It has a very aggressive curve, and it really comes down to having all the amazing set 2 cards that we got to kind of improve the consistency of Grand Inquisitor. Because if you look back on set 1, you really wanted like, oh, I want the Scout Bike Pursuer turn 1 into like turn 2 5th brother so that I could do some major work and take advantage of the action off Grand Inquisitor, right? But now you also have things like Deathwatch Loyalist or Worship Tree Tender or Hylobon Enforcer to give you so many additional turn 1 plays and turn 2 plays to make it extremely consistent. You might see Blue and you're like, oh, isn't there like not a lot of blue cards you're playing? Absolutely, right? Like Hylobon Enforcer, Scout Bike Pursuer, Worship Tree Tender, Sonara Sand, and Covert Strength are all the only blue cards, but they're exceptionally important. Another thing that I didn't mention with Yellow versus Blue, and of course the blue cards that we're playing, is Security Complex. You saw so many games there where I put a shield token on something, and it felt like the game had just ended. We got an early trade in, or just kept our unit alive a little bit longer, or we protected an extremely important unit, and it just made it extremely hard for our opponent to kind of play the game. With this list in particular, I think the one kind of questionable part about this deck is the bounty package. Rich Reward ended up being pretty good, as you all saw there. Guild Target is a little bit hit or miss. Rich Reward is nice because what it ends up doing is like trading a shield token in this deck for 2 experience tokens. with the security complex. But guild target, you kind of attack a unit, and you really only want to be attacking those units if you have something like a Deathwatch Loyalist or a Jango Fett out. Those are the two cards that we're really looking at to get those bounties some value. So guild target, not necessary in the overall grand scheme of things. And honestly, you could probably cut Jango Fett, Chrysanthemum, and guild target and run the full 3 of clan challengers that ended up being pretty good. And then maybe you can run a few more tricks or potentially upgrades if you want. One thing that I heavily was considering is things like devotion and Mandalorian armor and electro staff, because those can have some really powerful synergies. Take Fifth Brother, for example. If you put Fifth Brother on the battlefield, you put a Mandalorian armor on Fifth Brother, even though it's not a Mandalorian, what you're able to do is give it an additional power, but not too much power to the point where you can't ready again with Grand Inquisitor. So you can do some crazy things like turn 2, Fifth Brother, ready Fifth Brother, attack. Turn 3, put a Mandalorian armor on Fifth Brother after you've, or before you've attacked. And by that point, you should have about 4 damage on him, because you'll or 3 to 4 damage on him, because you'll deal damage to itself, and then you get to attack for, you know, essentially 5 to 6, and then you get to ready him up again with Grand Inquisitor, so you get to attack for like 8 at that point, which is kind of crazy. So that could be a really powerful one. And then of course, like Electro Staff is just a solid upgrade to give you some more value in certain circumstances. The very good ones with Electro Staff are like Hylobon Enforcer and Scout Bike Pursuer, because you're able to put, you know, the Electro Staff on them and then ready them afterwards, which makes them kind of an annoying threat to deal with. Heck, even the Mandalorian armor on Deathwatch Loyalist could be amazing. You go something like play Deathwatch Loyalist, ready it, attack, put a Mandalorian armor on it, and yes, you can't ready it again, but it's now a 6/4 shielded, so that can be pretty strong as well. Of course, those are more specific scenarios, similar to the bounties, but that's kind of the package that you can change up. Overall, though, this deck is one of the most budget-friendly lists. There are a couple rares and legendaries, such as Fallen Lightsaber and Jango Fett, but as I mentioned, Jango Fett really not necessary, and then Fallen Lightsaber also pretty cheap, so you don't really need to invest too much into that. The one exception to that list, or this list being, you know, relatively budget-friendly, is the Silencers. But if you look at it, it's a 3/2 space unit in our deck, so you can run something like Mercenary Gunship, which is perfectly reasonable. It's going to be a decent chunk worse, because there are some matchups where they can just pay 4 and take it, and you're feeling pretty bad about that. But other matchups, it won't matter at all, because paying 4 is going to be too late, and they would have already traded with it. So you could just play Mercenary Gunship in that spot. You could also play other space units onto, or you could just stick to the ground units. And you saw in the matches that we've played, TIE Silencer isn't really like exceptionally important. It's just kind of nice to have another space unit to potentially get in some damage that your otherwise opponent would not be expecting. Overall, though, that's going to be the list, guys. That's going to be the games, and hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all for the next video.